But Baalbek, if there was one example, one ancient site on Earth that is evidence of a lost, ancient, advanced civilization.
Imagine a stone so massive it outweighs 10 blue whales. At Baalbek, Lebanon, one block weighs over 1,500 tons. That's more than 5 fully loaded Boeing 747s stacked together. Yet, it was somehow moved and placed with precision. Today's strongest cranes can't budge 20% of that weight. But thousands of years ago, someone not only moved it, they lifted it 23 feet in the air and set it flawlessly into place. No lasers, no hydraulics, no steel, just something. These aren't engineering feats. They're defiance of physics.
This block and another 2 are actually far older than the Roman period.
Whatever built this wasn't ordinary. So ask yourself, was this forgotten genius or something else entirely? The Romans loved bragging. They wrote endlessly about roads, aqueducts, and the Colosseum, yet said nothing about Baalbek's trilithon blocks. Not a single inscription, scroll, or sketch mentions the largest stones ever moved in antiquity. Why?
And Baalbek has the largest stones that were ever quarried in human history, the largest stones that were lifted, stacked, and transported in human history, and the largest stone columns in all of classical history.
This silence is louder than words. These same builders praised themselves for minor arches, but ignored stones too heavy for modern cranes? It makes no sense, unless those blocks were already there. Ancient, untouchable, sacred. They didn't build them, they inherited them. And that changes the story, not just of Baalbek, but of civilization itself. You'd expect some kind of signature. Measurements, ratios, unit markings.
You don't see the Roman foot in those stones, which is weird. You would expect to see some sort of breakdown of the Roman foot in these measurements, but they're not there at Baalbek.
Yet the base stones of Baalbek contain no trace of the Roman foot system. None. Every major Roman project followed consistent proportions, often matching temple symmetry down to inches. But at Baalbek, the math doesn't add up. Not Roman, not Greek, not anything familiar. These stones don't match any known culture. It's as if a ghost civilization left behind its masterpiece.
Or how they got there in the first place.
For all the feats of Roman history, why would they have the most impressive feats over 2,000 miles away from the capital?
And vanished without a trace. NASA's strongest crane can't lift Baalbek's heaviest stone. Let that sink in. Even with cutting-edge machinery, our modern civilization falls short of what was done thousands of years ago. No steel cables, no hydraulics, just perfectly placed limestone 23 feet off the ground. And not one block, but dozens. This isn't lost knowledge, it's erased knowledge. So what kind of minds and motives were behind such impossible ambition? Half a mile from Baalbek, the real shock awaits. 3 unfinished megaliths lie abandoned in the quarry, bigger than the ones already moved. The stone of the pregnant woman weighs nearly 1,000 tons. The stone of the south, over 1,200 tons. Then came the 2014 discovery.
Roman architecture always uses the most impressive things right in the front. You walk in the front of the thing, and that's where you're going to see the biggest stones, the most impressive, well, for obvious reasons. These are in the back, completely on the opposite end of
a 1,500-ton behemoth dubbed the Forgotten Stone. Why carve them if you couldn't move them? It's like discovering blueprints for a spaceship before the wheel was invented. Locals have whispered for centuries. Some say a pregnant woman tricked villagers into feeding her by claiming she knew how to move the stones. Others say it was Cain, or Nimrod, or the Nephilim, ancient giants punished by the gods. And some blame Jinn.
Cannot withstand these structures.
We're talking about pillars buried in dirt. It's 2024. Do not tell me that we do not have the technological capability to dig rocks up.
Some say the structures signify some powerful civilization.
Supernatural entities from Islamic folklore with powers beyond our world. When facts disappear, legends take root. The mystery isn't just historical, it's mythical, woven into the DNA of the land. One study estimated it would take 40,000 people to move just one Baalbek block across flat land. Not uphill, not 23 feet in the air, flat. And even then, you'd need perfect synchronization, tools, and infrastructure we barely manage today. Smaller stones would have worked just fine. Cheaper, faster, safer.
So why go bigger than necessary? What compelled ancient builders to chase the impossible?
Maybe we're asking the wrong question. What if no one moved these stones at all? What if the megaliths were already embedded in the landscape, part of something far older, long before the Romans or Phoenicians arrived?
Some temples are built with ambition.
Others are built upon mystery.
And Baalbek might be the latter, a sacred inheritance no one could replicate.
From Nephilim giants to Anunnaki aliens, the theories surrounding Baalbek have drifted into the extraordinary. And honestly, it's not hard to see why. These stones look more like the product of a sci-fi movie than a Bronze Age construction site. But science insists humans did it, somehow.
Impossibility fuels myth, but absence fuels obsession.
And Baalbek sits precisely at that crossroads.
Zoom in and you'll see them.
Faint but undeniable. Chisel marks carved deep into the limestone. Human hands worked these giants. This isn't alien laser precision. It's real effort, sweat, skill. But that only makes it more confusing. The stones are too big, the tools too basic.
Proof of human effort doesn't explain superhuman results.
So if they did it, how? In the early 2000s, archaeologists unearthed Persian pottery marked with cuneiform script, dating back to the 6th century BCE, a clear sign that Persians were here. But here's the twist. There's no record of them moving or carving these megaliths. No inscriptions, no claims, no construction plans.
They were present, but not proud.
Could they have built it and simply forgotten to tell the world?
In the rubble of Baalbek's temples,
researchers found Neolithic artifacts, dating the site's human occupation back 11,000 years. That's older than the pyramids, older than Mesopotamia. If people were already here that long ago, then Baalbek isn't just Roman or Persian, it's prehistoric.
the stones may predate history itself. This hill wasn't just sacred, it was chosen again and again across millennia. On the temple floor of Baalbek, archaeologists uncovered something astonishing. Blueprints carved directly into the stone. Not papyrus, not scrolls, literal architectural plans etched into the ground. Ratios, measurements, geometry, precision at a scale that rivals modern drafting.
This wasn't guesswork, it was mastery.
Whoever planned this didn't just build, they engineered.
When experts studied Podium 1, the colossal platform beneath Baalbek's tallest columns, they noticed something uncanny. The construction style was a carbon copy of Herodian architecture in Jerusalem. Identical block margins, layout patterns, and even height measurements.
Two cities, same signature. Were these ancient builders collaborating across empires, or across something even stranger? Over 11,000 years, Baalbek was touched by empire after empire. Neolithic settlers, Phoenicians, Greeks, Romans, Byzantines, Muslims. Yet none claimed to build the trilithon. Each reused it, worshipped on it, built over it. But no one dared say, we placed these stones. Everyone honored it, no one owned it.
Like a divine stage left by gods, waiting for humanity to act upon it.
The Phoenicians ruled here around 3200 BCE, and they built temples, big ones.
But some researchers now think they didn't just worship at Baalbek. They may have moved the stones. If true, that pushes the trilithon's origin back 5,000 years. Bronze Age ambition, or something even older.
Because even with Phoenician skill,
This scale still doesn't add up.
let's do the math.
The best Roman cranes could lift 6 tons. Baalbek stones, 800, 1,000, up to 1,500 tons. That's not a small discrepancy. That's a 100x gap. And wood rollers? Repeated experiments show they fail even on smaller stones, let alone giants, uphill, with precision.
Every theory crumbles under the weight of reality.
Something's missing, and no textbook explains what.
Maybe it's not just about how they did it,
But why? Why go bigger than necessary? Why carve blocks no one can move? Why make the impossible sacred? Every civilization treated Baalbek as holy ground, not because they built it, but because they couldn't.
it wasn't just a temple. It was a message. And maybe That message still echoes beneath the stones. Even after decades of excavations, the deeper Baalbek is explored, the more questions surface, almost like the site is designed to resist final understanding. When German archaeologists first mapped the substructures beneath the Temple of Jupiter, they weren't just shocked by the depth. They were confused by the layering. Multiple phases of construction from completely different eras, all sharing the same alignment. This wasn't coincidence, it was intention. Each new culture didn't alter the design, they preserved it, aligned to the stars. Or maybe something older. Buried beneath the hexagonal courtyard were older stones, visibly eroded, yet perfectly shaped. The Romans didn't carve them, the Phoenicians didn't mention them, but they're there, thousands of years older. Fit so tightly together, you can't slide a razor blade between them. Who lays a foundation that lasts 10,000 years? And why would future civilizations, powerful ones, refuse to dismantle it? They didn't build over it, they built with it. That reverence suggests something beyond functionality. It suggests myth, sacred geometry, the sense that touching the stones meant tapping into something cosmic. These aren't just blocks, they're a memory frozen in stone. A message we haven't translated. And maybe the reason we haven't cracked Baalbek's code is because we're looking with tools designed to measure weight, not meaning. What if the real payload of Baalbek isn't its size, but its symbolism? What if the reason these stones were made so large, so immovable, is because they were never meant to be changed, never meant to be erased? Maybe they were designed to outlive languages, borders, even civilizations, a kind of immortality. Not through storytelling, but through stone. Because words disappear, temples burn. But this endures. That kind of foresight doesn't just challenge history, it humbles it. And as more is uncovered, the deeper realization emerges. We didn't just inherit Baalbek's foundation, we inherited its silence. In 1898, when Kaiser Wilhelm II visited Baalbek, he was so awestruck that he launched the first major archaeological effort to study the site. But even then, over a century ago, scholars noted something odd. The deeper they dug, the more non-Roman everything began to feel. Doorways too tall, columns misaligned with Roman planning principles, subterranean tunnels that led nowhere, or led somewhere that had already been buried long before the Romans arrived. And then the floor carvings. The moment these were photographed and compared to Herodian architecture, the conclusion was unavoidable. Some of the techniques used here, drafted margins, alternating headers and stretchers, exact course heights, matched stonework in Jerusalem precisely. These weren't inspired copies. These were blueprints. Same hands, same methods, which raises the obvious question: were builders moving between empires, carrying knowledge from one region to another? Or was there a school of engineering so advanced and so consistent that it operated across multiple civilizations? Behind the scenes, a kind of ancient guild, one that didn't care for kings or empires, only precision. But even that theory falls apart when you confront the sheer volume and scale of Baalbek's stones, because nothing else compares. Not in Rome, not in Persia, not even in Egypt. And if you could build with smaller, easier blocks, why go out of your way to use these? The answer may lie not in utility, but in psychology. These weren't temples for humans. They were built to be seen by the heavens, columns rising like antennae, stones that refuse to move as if challenging time itself. Baalbek wasn't just a sacred site. It was a statement, a declaration of permanence in a world that erases. But permanence comes at a cost, and maybe that cost was knowledge, because somewhere along the way, the method vanished, the know-how disappeared, and now all we have is the evidence, the result, the silent defiance of the trilithon, mocking our modern machines, reminding us that for all our technology, we still don't understand the past. Not really. Here's what most people miss about Baalbek. It was never a secret. It was never hidden in a jungle or buried under sand. It was always there, towering, visible, and yet completely misunderstood. For thousands of years, armies marched past it, kings ruled beside it, pilgrims prayed beneath it, and still, no one truly knew what they were standing on. Today, we have drones, lasers, carbon dating, and geological surveys.
And still, we're guessing. Because the moment you confront the reality of Baalbek's construction, you leave the realm of archaeology and step into something stranger. How do you move a 1,500-ton stone uphill without fracturing it? How do you align 3 blocks that size, 23 feet above the ground, with zero margin for error, without steel, without cranes, without a second chance? And more importantly, why do it at all? Even now, theories multiply. Lost civilizations, forgotten machines, ancient superintelligence. But what if the truth isn't in technology, but in mindset? Maybe the ancients weren't just strong. Maybe they were patient in ways we've forgotten, willing to take generations to place a single stone, willing to build not for utility, but for eternity. In our world, we build to profit, to finish, to ship. But they built to endure. Every element of Baalbek, from its foundations to its astronomical alignments, points to something far more complex than religious ritual or political power. It suggests continuity, that each civilization recognized the energy of this place and chose to align themselves with it, rather than erase it. That's rare. In history, conquerors destroy, but here, they preserved. From Neolithic settlers to Roman emperors to Muslim dynasties, each bowed to Baalbek's original foundation. That's not architecture, that's awe. And maybe that's the real lesson. Not how they did it, but that they did it at all, in stone, in silence, for us to wonder forever. We came searching for answers. Who built Baalbek? How did they move the stones? What knowledge did they possess that we've lost? And the more we looked, the more the stones responded. Not with facts, but with echoes. Layer by layer, Baalbek reveals a truth far bigger than history, that civilizations rise and fall. But some truths are meant to endure beyond language, beyond culture, even beyond memory. Whether crafted by ancient engineers, forgotten empires, or something more extraordinary, Baalbek isn't just a monument, it's a mirror, one that reflects the limits of what we think we know, and the boundless mystery of what we don't. Maybe that's the point, that the greatest structures aren't built to explain, they're built to inspire. And as long as those stones remain standing, they will keep asking the question we've never been able to answer. Thanks for watching. If you enjoy uncovering ancient mysteries that challenge everything we've been told, this is just the beginning. Subscribe now and join us as we search for what was buried in time. This content is for educational and entertainment purposes only. It is not professional advice. Please consult qualified experts for further information.